Let me tell you about the most expensive mistake you will ever make. It won't feel like a mistake. It will feel like a reward. It will feel like you finally deserve something nice. And that feeling, that one moment of justified indulgence, is the beginning of a financial spiral that has quietly drained more wealth from more people than any stock crash, any recession, or any bad investment ever has. And almost nobody is talking about it. In 1769, a French philosopher named Denis Diderot received a beautiful scarlet dressing gown as a gift. It was elegant, it was expensive, and it felt like an upgrade. But within months, something strange happened. Diderot began replacing almost everything in his study. New desk, new chair, new curtains, new artwork. One by one, every object that had served him perfectly well for years suddenly felt inadequate next to that magnificent gown. He wrote about it himself, confused, a little embarrassed, and significantly poorer. He called the essay Regrets for My Old Dressing Gown, and in it, he described something that would take researchers another 200 years to fully understand. The moment you acquire something that feels like an upgrade, your brain immediately begins running a silent comparison against everything around it, and everything that used to be fine suddenly isn't. Researchers now call this the Diderot Effect, and it is one of the most powerful and least understood forces in personal finance, because it doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like catching up. It feels like alignment. It feels like you are simply making everything else match the standard you have now set for yourself. But what is actually happening inside your brain is far more sinister than that. When you make a purchase that feels like an upgrade, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical released during eating, during sex, during any pleasurable experience. And dopamine does not just make you feel good, it makes you want more. Because dopamine is not actually the pleasure chemical. Neuroscientists now understand that dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It is released not when you get what you want, but when you are about to get it. This is why the moment you buy something new, your brain immediately starts looking for the next upgrade. Not because you are greedy, not because you have no discipline, but because your brain's reward system is working exactly as it was designed to. The problem is it was designed for survival in a world without credit cards, one-click purchasing, and a social media feed engineered to make you feel inadequate every 30 seconds. And social media has turned the Diderot effect into a weapon. Every time you scroll through your feed, you are being shown a curated highlight reel of upgrades. New cars, new homes, new wardrobes, new bodies. And your brain, the same brain that confused Denis Diderot 250 years ago, runs that same silent comparison. And the gap that it finds, that uncomfortable, itching, nagging gap, is exactly what the entire consumer economy is built on. So you buy something to close the gap, and it works for about 72 hours. Then your baseline shifts. The new thing is now just a thing, and everything around it starts looking inadequate again, and the cycle starts over. Psychologists call this the Hedonic Treadmill. You keep running, but you never actually move forward. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology tracks spending patterns across 4,000 households over 5 years. They found that every time household income increased by 10%, spending increased by an average of 14%. People were literally getting richer and going more broke simultaneously, not because of emergencies, not because of bad luck, but because their definition of normal kept expanding faster than their income. Economists call this lifestyle creep, and it is the silent killer of wealth, not the big financial disasters, not the dramatic losses, the quiet, gradual, barely noticeable expansion of what you consider the minimum acceptable standard for your life. And each upgrade feels completely justified, until you look at your savings account and wonder where all the money went. Here is the number that should stop you cold. The average American household spends 101% of their income, not 90%, not 95%, 101%. They are not just failing to save. They are actively going backwards every single month. So now you understand the problem. But understanding a problem and actually changing your behavior around it are two completely different things. Because the Diderot effect is not a knowledge problem. You can know exactly what is happening and still feel the pull. You can understand the dopamine loop completely and still click buy, because this is not a conscious behavior. This is a deeply wired subconscious pattern, and you cannot fight a subconscious pattern with conscious willpower alone. The first tool is the one we introduced in the short video. If you caught our short video on this, you already know about urge surfing, but we are going much deeper today, because knowing the technique and knowing why it works at a neurological level are two completely different things, and we are going much deeper into it here, because most people try it once and give up. So let's break down exactly how and why it works on a neurological level. Urge surfing was developed by psychologist Alan Marlatt originally to treat addiction, because here is the uncomfortable truth. The neural pathway activated by a shopping urge is almost identical to the neural pathway activated by a drug craving. Same dopamine system, same anticipation loop, same temporary relief followed by the same need for more. When Marlatt studied people trying to resist cravings, he found that fighting the urge directly almost always failed. Resistance creates tension. Tension creates more craving. More craving creates eventual collapse. But he found something remarkable about people who succeeded. They did not fight the urge. They observed it. They treated the craving like a wave of sensation moving through their body. They noticed where it started. They watched it build. They stayed present as it peaked. And then they watched it dissolve, without acting on it, without fighting it, without judging themselves for feeling it, just watching. Here is the neuroscience behind why this works. An urge, any urge, has a biological lifespan of approximately 90 seconds to 2 minutes. After that, it begins to lose intensity on its own. Your brain generates the craving signal. If you do not respond to it, your brain stops sending it. Every time you surf an urge without acting on it, you are literally training your brain to send that signal less often. The urges become less frequent, less intense, and eventually almost automatic to dismiss. But urge surfing is just the first layer, because the Diderot effect is not just about impulsive purchases. It is about identity. And identity is a much deeper and more powerful force than impulse. Here is something most financial advice completely ignores. People do not buy things. They buy versions of themselves. When you buy a luxury item, your brain is not just acquiring an object. It is making a statement about who you are, or more precisely, who you want to be seen as. Psychologists call this identity-based consumption, and it is the engine underneath the Diderot effect. Every brand in the world knows this. They do not sell products. They sell identities. They sell the feeling of being the kind of person who drives that car, who wears that watch, who carries that bag. And your brain, desperate for social belonging and status, responds to that signal at a level far below conscious thought. Before you have even made a decision, your subconscious has already decided what this purchase says about you. So the second behavioral technique is called identity reframing. Instead of fighting the purchase, you challenge the identity story underneath it. Ask yourself, what am I trying to say about myself by buying this? Am I buying this because I genuinely need it? Or am I buying this to feel like a certain kind of person? Because wealthy people do not build their identity around what they own. They build their identity around what they are building. When your identity becomes, I am someone who builds wealth, every spending decision gets filtered through that lens automatically. Not because you are disciplined, because it would feel wrong to do otherwise. You do not have to fight the urge. The urge does not even arise, because buying that thing would contradict who you are. The third technique is environment design. Research from Cornell University shows that up to 95% of our daily decisions are made automatically based on environmental cues. Not thought, not intention. Environment. If you have shopping apps on your phone, you will shop. If you have brand emails flooding your inbox, you will feel the pull of upgrades daily. If your social media feed is full of luxury lifestyle content, your baseline will keep shifting upward. This is not weakness. This is neuroscience. Your brain responds to its environment. So design an environment that makes the Diderot effect harder to trigger. Delete the apps. Unsubscribe from the emails. Curate your feed. The fourth technique is the 72-hour rule. Remember, satisfaction from a new purchase lasts approximately 72 hours. Use that against the urge. When you feel the pull to buy something, write it down. Set a 72-hour timer. And do nothing in study after study. More than 80% of impulse purchase urges disappear completely within 72 hours, without the dopamine hit of anticipation, keeping them alive. Most wants reveal themselves to be nothing more than a passing feeling dressed up as a need. Write it down. Set the timer. Walk away. 3 steps between you, and a decision your future self will thank you for. Now, let's bring all 4 techniques together. Layer 1, urge surfing, works at the neurological level. It trains your brain to stop sending the craving signal. Layer 2, identity reframing, works at the psychological level. It changes the story you tell yourself about what spending means. Layer 3, environment design, works at the behavioral level. It removes the triggers before they can activate the response. Layer 4, the 72-hour rule, works at the practical level. It creates a physical gap between impulse and action. Together, they form a complete system for interrupting the Diderot effect at every stage of the cycle. But here is the part nobody tells you. These techniques only work if you understand the real cost of what you are fighting, not the cost of the purchase, the cost of the pattern. The average Diderot cascade involves between 3 and 7 subsequent purchases, so that one $150 item becomes $450 to $1,050 every single time. And if that cascade happens just once a month, over 10 years, you have not just spent up to $126,000, you have lost the $250,000 that money would have become. Every Diderot cascade is not just money spent, it is wealth never built, freedom never reached, options never available. Denis Diderot spent almost everything he had chasing the feeling that scarlet dressing down gave him. He never caught it, because it was never really about the gown. It was about a gap his brain invented, a gap that could never actually be closed by buying things, because every purchase just moved the finish line. The wealthy figured something out that took Diderot a lifetime and a fortune to learn. The gap is a lie. Your brain invented it, and your brain can be trained to stop inventing it, not through deprivation, not through living like a monk, but through understanding exactly what is happening and choosing, deliberately and intentionally, not to play the game. Urge surf the craving, reframe the identity, design the environment, apply the 72-hour rule. For tools, for layers, one system that quietly dismantles the most expensive pattern most people never even knew they had. Your bank account is not just a reflection of what you earn. It is a reflection of the story your brain tells you about what you deserve. And that story can be rewritten. Denis Diderot never figured it out, but you just did. And that right there is the difference between people who build wealth and people who just keep buying things that feel like it. If this shifted something for you, subscribe to Brain to Banks. New video every Thursday. We break down the psychology behind wealth, the habits, the science, and the mindset shifts that actually move the needle. Because your brain is either working for your bank account or against it. Let's make sure it's working for you. See you next time.